Well, it's finally here. The finals of Fraggle Rock, and it's Wembley versus House of Pain. Who would have thought? The champion versus the noob. The piece de la resistance versus the appetizer. We all know how this is all going to turn out, but I'm going to run you through it, and I'm going to tell you guys why the belt's going to stay in New York. Let's run down the matchups. Well, let's first congratulate Dershfall. Really hard-fought victory, or loss. Very, very good matchup last week against, or not last week, but last round, I guess, because 2 weeks, with Wembley. He would actually beat House of Pain and Centaurians last week. Unfortunately, he wasn't going up against them. He was going up against me. And House of Pain with a narrow victory over Centaurians. If anything, we can both say that both matchups came down to the very last second. I know that I was incredibly worried about Forte. Saw him like inching towards the goal line, you know, pass. Cutler was my MVP, getting the touchdowns through the air, and it was a difficult matchup considering I had 3 guys with 0, 2 because of injuries. Brad had the same thing, so it was definitely up and down type of matchup with us. Now, on the other hand, House of Pain squeaked by 2 points over Centaurians. Both of them left a lot of points on the bench, but doesn't matter because House of Pain is in the finals. Let's go into it. Both teams actually have a lot of easy matchups these 2 weeks. These last 2 weeks. The hardest thing is knowing who's going to play and who's not going to play with how teams are positioned in the playoffs. So sometimes when someone gets everything locked up, your guy doesn't play, your guy gets no points, and that's when you lose the belt. If we go into it, though, we got Phillip Rivers, quarterback in Wembley. He's got Cincinnati this week. Cincinnati has been sucking all year long, giving up a lot of points. Rivers is going to be putting up 25 points this week. You can count on it. And God knows he's going to be playing next week too. Trying to get into the playoffs. Because, you know, he needs to actually play, thankfully. Considering all my... Well, we'll get to that later, anyhow. The other quarterback, House of Pain, has Joe Flacco for Baltimore. Obviously not the elite quarterback that Rivers is, or not that fantasy season that Rivers is. But going against the Cleveland defense, who's been giving up a lot of points to the quarterbacks. But the problem is, with how Ray Rice has been playing the last few weeks, you got to think that Baltimore's going to be keeping it on the ground a little bit more. And with Cleveland keeping it on the ground, clock runs a lot faster. I still see Flacco getting about 13 points. Give him 1 touchdown, maybe 200 yards. Give him, 12, 13 points against Cleveland. If we look at the running backs, the running backs in the flex, House of Pain's throwing out 3 running backs. He's got Rashad Mendenhall. I'm guaranteeing you Rashad Mendenhall this week is going to get 13 points. Playing out, guaranteeing against Carolina, he's going to get a weak 1-yard touchdown run and have a bad day all the rest of the day. But a weak 1-yard touchdown run is going to boost him into a decent fantasy game day against Carolina. 13 points for Rashad Mendenhall. Arian Foster, he's been hurt. So even if he does play, does he re-aggravate it and step out, leaving him with only about 4 points like he did last week? Because if he does, it could spell doom for House of Pain and leave him in a big hole for week 2. But against Denver, I say he stays healthy but doesn't have a giant day. He's going to be limited on carries, see a lot more split with Derek Ward. Give me about 9 points for Arian Foster. Bajaris Green Ellis for New England going against Buffalo. You gotta love this matchup. Bajaris had a great run last week. That's really saved his fantasy week. Helped propel House of Pain into the finals. And against Buffalo, you gotta love that. Both teams have no defense, a lot of scoring. I'm gonna see both teams in the 30s. Green Ellis is gonna get at least in the end zone once. Give him 16 points this week. I know it's high for Green Ellis, but I see 16 points coming out of him against the Buffalo team. If we go to Wembley and his awesome running backs that are all falling apart at the end of the fucking season. Thank God I traded for Ray Rice, or I'd have nobody left. But thankfully, Ray Rice, Ryan Terrain, Adrian Peterson. I don't know if I'm going to keep AP in there. I might go with Danny Woodhead because the easy matchup with Buffalo. I might go with Marshawn Lynch, who has given me some really good points some weeks while Frank Gore has been out, and him going against Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay being one of, I think they're 30th in the league against the run. It spells good points for Marshawn Lynch. It's going to be a tough decision for me. I'm not sure yet, or I'd tell you guys. Ryan Terrain, big week last week, 15 points. Going against a Jacksonville defense that is really shitty. Rex Grossman at quarterback. But the nice thing is, Rex throwing 4 touchdowns last week helps open up the run game because maybe he can pass. You know, Chicago does have tendency to fuck over quarterbacks, so maybe he can pass. It was just maybe Chicago. We'll see, but Ryan Terrain should have a lot of points here. I'm going to give him about 15 there. Ray Rice against Cleveland. I'm going to say another plus 20 game. I know he had 35 last week. Give me 23 for Ray Rice this week. Adrian Peterson or one of my fill-ins. I definitely, either one of my fill-ins are going to get double digits, maybe that 10, 11, 12. The thing I'm scared about, Adrian Peterson going for 20 points, and I have him sitting on the bench. If he does play against Philly, Philly does give up some run yards, but they're going to be stacking the box anyhow because we all saw Joe Webb can't throw worth a shit. So actually, I would say Adrian Peterson about like that 11, 12 points as well. Receiver-wise, Wembley throwing out Bolden and Wayne, both incredibly disappointing last week. But Bolden with a good matchup against Cleveland. And let's be honest, if Falco has a good day, guess who it's going to? It's usually going to Bolden, even though Hoosh has been a little bit of the primary lately. I don't understand why. But I see Bolden having a big catch-up week. Flacco is going to get his 1 touchdown pass. The Bolden, giving Bolden 11 points this week. Reggie Wayne, with Collie out, every time Collie's been out, Reggie Wayne's targeted more than 5 per game. You got to love those numbers against Oakland, who's really good against the run, not so much against the pass. But if you got Osamoah shadowing him the whole game, I still see Reggie Wayne getting his catches. I don't see him having a giant day, but give me 1 touchdown down in the red zone. I'm saying about 12 for Reggie Wayne. On the other side, this is where House of Pain is strong. His receivers, Greg Jennings, thank God Rodgers is back, he's saying, because without Rodgers, Flynn is not as strong at all. Give me 14, 15, maybe 16 points for Greg Jennings. Deshaun Jackson against Minnesota. Minnesota has had a shitty year, granted. They still have a decent secondary. Deshaun Jackson, I'm guessing he's going to get a touchdown, but I think it's going to come in the return game again. Give me only 8 points for Deshaun Jackson, having a little bit of a down week. Maybe once Philly runs up the score, they're going to be up by 30. He's not going to be playing as much. We go to tight ends. We got Benjamin Watson on House of Pain side going against Baltimore. They don't give up a lot of points to the tight end. Staunch defense. Yeah. See Watson actually only getting about 2 to 3 points this week. We look on the other side. VD, 0 points last week? No. St. Louis, watch it skyrocket. The boys going for 18. Defenses. Wembley picked up the Chargers defense, mainly because the matchup against Cincinnati. The number 2 overall defense rated in the NFL. See them getting, I see a defensive touchdown, or I wouldn't have picked them up. I'm going to say actually 13 points to match the Steelers for the Chargers. Now, like I was saying, House of Pain, I can guarantee you the Steelers are going to get 13 points this week. They're going to match Mr. Mendenhall. 13 points, Steelers, book it, it's there. Kading, kickers, House of Pain, Kading for San Diego. You got to love Nate Kading. Going against Cincinnati, a lot of scoring. Problem is, I don't think they're going to be stopped a lot in the red zone, not a lot of field goals. On the other side, you got Rod Baronis going against KC. He's had a down few weeks. Look for him to bounce back here. A lot of field goals. Give me actually 13 points for Rob Baronis this week. It's going to be a great matchup. I want to say good luck to Micah. Very impressed that you got this far. It's a tough league. Anyhow, I love you guys. Watch it. Do it. Merry Christmas.